The only difference between Paulson and Bachmann is Paulson isn't dumb enough to say the stuff that Bachmann does. But when it comes down to policy, they're joined at the hip.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42.
Now another good guy, our favorite two-fisted blogger, Tommy Johnson. When Tommy points his finger, Republicans and Tea Party hacks either take cover or get uglier. Tommy, do you think that the political discourse is getting worse over the years?
It's gotten horrible, and it's basically coming from the right. Take, for instance, the Meffert Paulson race that we've been talking about. Eric Paulson is running an attack ad right now at Jim Meffert saying that he wants to gut Social Security.
How ridiculous can you get?
It's the complete exact opposite of what's going to happen. Michelle Bachmann said that we need to wean the Americans off of Social Security, and Eric Paulson votes with Michelle Bachmann 93% of the time. Yet Paulson's going to put out a TV ad saying that it's Meffert that wants to gut Social Security. It's shameful. He says he's a moderate, but he votes 93% of the time with Michelle Bachmann. The only difference between Paulson and Bachmann is Paulson isn't dumb enough to say the stuff that Bachmann does. But when it comes down to policy, they're joined at the hip. Tim, not only are Republicans acting badly at the national level, they're doing it at the state level, right on down to the city council level. For example, just last September, Eden Prairie Republican Party operatives showed up to oppose a change in the city's guide plan and zoning. The 9 Mile Creek Watershed District asked for the change so that it could locate its small office to an existing home in the center of 5 acres of oak trees. The owner wanted to donate the property to the Watershed District. The tiny agency would maintain the property for small meetings, water conservation demonstrations, and as a park for neighborhood kids.
Children do use this all the time in the wintertime.
But the right wingnuts showed up in opposition because they saw the donation to the small 2-person environmental agency as an expansion of government and taxes.
The fiscally responsible vote today is to vote no.
What you're really doing is opening the door
regarding this expansion of government by the Watershed District. And
the neighbors overwhelmingly supported the project, and so did the city council.
The motion passes.
Are you sleeping more soundly because of these Republicans? And bad Republican behavior is common in the local letters to the editors. Here's one that distorts Maria Rude's record. It's by Peter Bozanich, the local Republican webmaster. We just saw his wife. She was speaking out against that watershed project. Referring to Representative Maria Rude, Bozanich writes, quote, "Why do you think the Twin West Chamber of Commerce didn't endorse her?" Unquote. Well, I'll tell you, chambers of commerce are in the pocket of the Republican Party. 42B Republican Representative Jennifer Loon knows that. She's married to one of them. Every week, distortions in the papers, and in the mailbox, Republican junk. Maria Rude's opponent, Kirk Stensrud, says that Rude wants to raise income taxes. Hey, if Stensrud was clean about this, he'd talk about the rising property taxes that are part of the Republican shuffle. These fools have got the DFL mule laughing its donkey off.
I know you live in Senate District 42, is that correct?
I do. I'm very privileged to be represented by Representative Maria Rude.
Well, why don't you give me a snapshot of where you think those races are? We got Ron Case running for Senate. How's Ron doing out there? Do you think he's got reasonable prospects of knocking off the neoconservative incumbent?
Absolutely, I do. Ron Case is a great candidate, and he's working really hard. Ron's been elected 4 times. People in Eden Prairie like Ron Case. They have a history of going into the ballot box and voting for him. So he's got that going for him. Now, what people forget is Maria Rude last time won 17 out of 17 precincts
I didn't
on
know
her
that.
side. Every single precinct. Every time she's been reelected, well, it has been by a greater margin. I have a neighbor who's a very strong Republican. I don't know why, but he is. But last cycle, he had Republican lawn signs from Norm Coleman on down to Maria Rude. This guy had a Maria Rude sign in his yard because Maria actually can reach across the aisle and connect with people.
Well, we've had Maria as a guest on this program before. She's absolutely dynamite. And what about Ray Daniels? Does Ray have an active and viable campaign going?
He does, but that is a tougher road to hoe. That's Eric Paulson's old seat, the 42B side, and that is home to some really rabid Republicans. Again, when they don't like what you say about them for their policies or what they do or what they don't do, they go after you personally.
I think I know the answer to this question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Are the Republicans running negative campaigns against Maria and Ron?
Always.
Yeah. What's been the response of the campaigns? Are we getting back some hard-hitting approaches to those kinds of negative ads on the part of our candidates?
Maria does not like to go negative. That's simply not in her nature.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Ron.
I'm asking whether or not, you know, she's making a firm response to that kind of.
She is.
Ad.
She is. She's contacting the editor of the paper and getting pieces put in it, and she is very nicely about it. A lot nicer than I would be, let me tell you, because I don't like. I fight back, and if that's the way you want to play the game, that's the way I'll play the game too. That's not in Maria's nature. She's a lady, and she's a very fine person.
Well, I'm confident that she's going to be reelected because she is just one of the nicer people I've ever met and an absolutely effective legislator by all indications. And Ron is up against an incumbent. That's not an easy race. Do you think Ron has reasonable prospects of winning that race?
I do. I do. I like David Hann as a person. I disagree with virtually everything this guy has to say. He is on the far extreme of the right wing of the Republican Party. He's not your traditional moderate Republican at all.
Tommy, thanks for coming on. It was great to hear from you, and good work.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42. Norbert Gurnis, Chair.